Language of the Body and the Concupiscence of the Flesh. General Audience number 106 of January 26th, 1983. The sign of marriage as a sacrament of the Church is constituted each time according to the dimension that is proper to it from the beginning, and at the same time it is constituted on the foundation of the spousal love of Christ and the Church as the unique and unrepeatable expression of the covenant between this man and this woman, who are ministers of the sacrament as the sacrament of their vocation and their life. In saying that the sign of marriage as a sacrament of the Church is constituted on the basis of the language of the body, we are using analogy, analogia attributionis, analogy of attribution, which we tried to clarify earlier. See TOB Audience 104, paragraph 7. It is obvious that the body as such does not speak, but the one who speaks is man, who rereads what needs to be expressed precisely on the basis of the body, of the masculinity or femininity of the personal subject, or even better, on the basis of what can be expressed by man only through the body. In this sense, man, male and female, does not merely speak with the language of the body, but in some sense he allows the body to speak for him on his behalf. I would say in his name and with his personal authority. Also, the concept of prophetism of the body seems to be founded in this way. The prophet, in fact, is one who speaks for and on behalf, in the name and with the authority of a person. The new spouses are aware of this when, in contracting marriage, they institute its visible sign. In the perspective of a shared life and of the conjugal vocation, that initial sign of marriage as a sacrament of the Church will be continually filled with the prophetism of the body. The body of each spouse will speak for and on behalf of each of them. The body will speak in the name and with the authority of the person, of each of the persons, thus carrying out the conjugal dialogue which is proper to their vocation and based on the language of the body, continually reread on the right occasion and at the proper time. And it is necessary that it is reread in the truth. The couple are called to form their lives and their living together as a communion of persons on the basis of this language. Given that a complex of meanings corresponds to the language, the couple, through their conduct and behavior, actions and gestures of tenderness, see Gaudium et Spes 49, are called to become the authors of these meanings of the language of the body from which they then build and continually deepen love, faithfulness, conjugal integrity, and the union that remains indissoluble until death. The sign of marriage as a sacrament of the Church is formed precisely through those meanings, of which the couple are the authors. All of these meanings are initiated and, in a certain sense, programmed in a comprehensive way in conjugal consent, for the sake of then building the same sign, in a more analytic way, day by day, so that the spouses identify with it in the dimension of the whole of life. There is an organic link between rereading the integral meaning of the language of the body in the truth and the consequent use of that language in conjugal life. In the latter sphere, the human being, male and female, is the author of the meanings of the language of the body. This implies that this language, of which he is the author, corresponds to the truth that has been reread. On the basis of the biblical tradition, we speak here about the prophetism of the body. If the human being, male and female, in marriage, and indirectly also in all spheres of mutual life together, gives to his behavior a meaning in conformity with the fundamental truth of the language of the body, then he too is in the truth. In the opposite case, he commits lies and falsifies the language of the body. If we place ourselves in the future-oriented perspective of conjugal consent, which, as we have said already, offers the spouses a particular share in the prophetic mission of the Church handed down from Christ himself, one can, in this regard, also use the biblical distinction between true and false prophets. Through marriage as a sacrament of the Church, man and woman are explicitly called to bear witness by correctly using the language of the body to spousal and procreative love, a testimony worthy of true prophets. In this consists the true significance and the greatness of conjugal consent in the sacrament of the Church. The problematic of the sacramental sign has a highly anthropological character. We build it on the basis of theological anthropology, and in particular of what from the very beginning of the present considerations we have defined as theology of the body. Thus, in continuing these analyses, we must always have before our eyes the earlier considerations referring to the analysis of the key words of Christ. We call them key words because they open, like a key, the various dimensions of theological anthropology, especially of the theology of the body. When we build on this basis the analysis of the sacramental sign of marriage, in which, even after original sin, man and woman always share as historical man, we must always recall the fact that that historical man and woman, is at the same time the man of concupiscence. As such, every man and woman enters into the history of salvation and is drawn into it by the sacrament, which is a visible sign of the covenant and of grace. For this reason, in the context of the present reflections about the sacramental structure of the sign, we must take into account not only what Christ said about the unity and indissolubility of marriage when he appealed to the beginning, but also, and even more so, what he expressed in the Sermon on the Mount when he appealed to the human heart.